You know that feeling when you come home from a long day at work and you just want to play something stupid for a minute or 10 before hitting the couch? In those cases, a good virtual brawl can be just what the doctor ordered. There are plenty of options in the PlayStation Store, although the biggest and baddest of them all, the one that drew me into VR in the first place, is not available at all. That's right, Blade and Sorcery won't be released on PlayStation. Having a look for a backup plan, I came across a VR brawler called Paint The Town Red VR. Alright, that will draw my attention. So, was this little brawler able to pull me in? Did I get those 10-minute punch fests I was looking for? Or do I have to carry on the search for a proper virtual melee mash fest? I'm your host, Vic, presenting Vic's Thoughts on video games. Let's bring some color into the world by painting the town red in VR. So, what is this game exactly? Well, the premise is really simple. You arrive at a location and proceed to beat the ever-loving crap out of any fool unlucky enough to be around that day. Punching works, but there are loads of objects to be found that can be used as makeshift weaponry. Beer bottles and bass guitars, stools and swords, pool cues and pistols. You name it. Last man standing wins, and that man should be you. 6 different locations are available to get your brawl on, with a high score to keep track of your murdering capabilities. There are also leaderboards to climb as a means of giving you an incentive to replay levels beyond a first go. I gotta talk about these visuals right away. They are nothing to write home about, sadly. Things can truly look different when you're in the headset yourself, and sometimes pictures cannot translate how good a game world feels to be in. Compound VR comes to mind as an example of that phenomenon. That game has a similar old school art style, but doesn't fumble the ball and manages to really make it work. That isn't the case for Paint the Town Red though. It's unappealing, to say the least. Everything is shaded in a very simple manner, the models aren't very detailed, and the enemy animations are very stiff and mechanical. I don't mind an abstracted art style, not at all even, but this crap ain't gonna make my train arrive at the station, if you catch my drift. The one charm is the voxel damage mechanics. Your foes are built out of blocks that can all be damaged or destroyed individually. Chopping bits and pieces off or caving skulls in will always be extra wild in VR. It can be much more uncanny than comedic. The art direction can really help swing it in either way. This game catches that sentiment, but fails to translate the essence into a visual coherency that makes you feel much of anything, really. The combat isn't very strong either. It lacks that sense of weight that some other titles totally did get right. Blade and Sorcery is a good example, but I also really like The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners in that regard. In those games, melee combat has much more going on in the physics department. Weapons feel heavy, and hurting your foes with them can feel outright nasty. Paint the Town Red misses the mark on this one too. It can feel quite clunky and rigid. It lacks that sense of an impact. The game just doesn't feel very engaging in the moment-to-moment gameplay. It's like a wacky inflatable noodle arm simulator without leaning very far into the comedic angle the game lends itself to so obviously. I do like the superpower mechanics where you are able to use 3 different special abilities after filling a bar by taking out a certain number of enemies. Without that mechanic, this game really would have been not much more than a slap fest. There's also a ton of enemies on screen without much stuttering or loading issues. That helps elevate the experience a bit at least. There isn't a story either or anything to connect these locations together. There's no reason at all given for all this mayhem. It's really just violence for the sake of violence. Punch some dudes, move on to the next level, no razzle-dazzle in between. The environments are a little dull in their presentation as well, although the level design can be pretty cute, with the sets having their own casts of enemies to fight and different weapons to find. Too bad they all look like this. Levels take a couple of minutes to complete and you'll be through the main content in an hour or so. It was, in essence, kind of in the ballpark of what I was looking for. Yet, even though I hadn't set my expectations very high, it didn't manage to grip me much. The gameplay is fundamentally just not very engaging. Not very visually appealing either. Bashing up the same dudes gets old pretty fast, even in 10-minute bursts. I kind of expected that to be it, but I had a little surprise coming my way. I checked out the secondary content in the menus, starting with the arena, and it turned out to be a fairly meaty game mode. Then I checked out the abyss and found an entire roguelite waiting for me with classes and upgrades and all. Okay, I did not see that coming. This game is a lot bigger than I was anticipating. More bang for your buck is always very much welcomed. Maybe these secondary modes can manage to pull me in a bit deeper. We'll have a look at the arena first. Playing out in a Roman Colosseum, you have to fight wave after wave of varying enemies, some of them being much more outlandish than anything you would find at the bar or the Pirate Cove. There's weird crystal monsters that fire laser beams, the floating demon hats that charge ahead wildly, or simply a legion of battered zombies. You never know what to expect when preparing for the coming wave. Making it through an entire set of challenges was actually pretty difficult at times, and it drew me in much better than the brawls I had before in the main levels. I found myself spending quite a bit more time here too. I think the arena mode is the absolute highlight of Paint the Town Red. If you do want to spend those 10-minute bursts on this game, I advise you to check out the arena first. It's still the same whack visual design and the gameplay still feels clunky and the enemy AI is still very dull. That hasn't changed here, but the variety and difficulty should, at the very least, hold your attention for a little while longer than the main modes. Then we have the Abyss, the third and final game mode, a sort of roguelite as I mentioned before. In this mode, you're dropped off in some sort of underground facility. It's actually pretty big and you're free to wander around here to check out the various departments. Among the many rooms is an ominous looking lift that, upon activation, will take you into the depths below. Down here, you'll have to collect loot, find weapons, and protect yourself from the various foes wandering these caverns while making your way in further and further. Die, and you start over from the beginning. The trope is pretty common by now, and I'm sure you know how this works. Slaying your enemies also earns you money, which can be spent on various upgrades. And instead of your usual superpowers, you can pick a class here, with each having a set of unique abilities. The mage, for example, is specialized in firing ranged missiles, and another may have healing abilities to help you survive for longer. Again, the developers added a bunch of stuff here that wasn't available in the main levels, and I have to commend them for that. The caverns themselves are sadly quite uninspired as a location though. You'll mostly be roaming about brown and grey rooms that all sorta look the same. The art style really is a weak point in this game, and level design has gone completely out of the window in this mode. Maybe things change if you delve in deeper, but good luck finding your way through, because the dreary decor doesn't help navigation either, making you feel lost after every turn. I found that to be a major issue. Honestly, I found this game mode the weakest, even though it seemed the most expansive. Without good fundamentals, all the shiny features and fancy weaponry are just bloat. You need a proper foundation to start building things on top of, and Paint the Town Red VR is just lacking in that respect. Also, I find the moment-to-moment gameplay to be weaker compared to the other two modes. The pace is much slower, and with you being lost most of the time, it just feels like you're going in circles and the game is wasting your time. I suppose the most time could theoretically be extracted from the abyss, but truly, I wouldn't know who would enjoy this. Not me, at least. My 10-minute brawls will not be spent in these depths. So, to summarize, is Paint the Town Red VR that game that you can pick up to play for a moment, have a blast, and then go on to do something else with a spring in your step? Nah, not really. Comparing it to Blade and Sorcery again, this one doesn't bring a sly smile to my face whenever I overcome a difficult situation with brutal, excessive murder, or have me punching the walls and furniture in my living room because I'm just so immersed in the virtual melee mayhem. Paint the Town Red doesn't make me feel much of anything, really. The violence seems meaningless, and it isn't enough of a spectacle to be justified through eye-melting visuals or intense gameplay either. The voxel damage mechanics is an interesting concept, but fails to make much of an impact on the core game loop. It's set dressing, and you know what they say about golden turds. It doesn't help that the entire thing looks like a Minecraft mod either. It's also a real shame that there is no multiplayer to be found here. I feel that could have done something to increase the fun factor. Wacky melee VR games are always better with a wacky friend. Although I had some fun in the arena for a while, this game wasn't it for me. The quest for that 10-minute blast has to be continued. I'm sure the PlayStation Store holds a few alternatives that might scratch that itch. But if you can stand the visuals, the clunky gameplay, and the uninspired set locations, maybe you can find some fun in here. For me, this ain't it, and I feel no remorse at sending this one into the endless pit that is my games collection. Enjoyed the show? Do let me know. Leave your thoughts on Paint the Town Red VR below in the comments because I'd love to hear them. Am I missing something with this one? Is it just not for me? Or am I right in dropping it into the bin? Also, want me to check out a specific video game? Tell me so I can add it to the ever-growing list. Check out more episodes of Fix Spots on Video Games on my channel. Do hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content, because as a small creator on a massive platform, every single one helps a bunch. For those of you already on board, thanks so much. I really do appreciate it. All footage was recorded on a standard PlayStation 5. Paint the Town Red VR is also available on Steam and MetaQuest. And with that, I'm out. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you at the next one.